Two roads diverged, and I chose the one that takes me forever to explain. This month is the 3-year anniversary of leaving the corporate world, so it's time for a little reflection and another hopeless attempt at explaining what I'm actually doing with my life. Back then, leaving was the punctuation after a crazy but unquestionably net positive 12-year run at a company I helped build from zero to over $2 billion. At the age of 38, an obvious road emerged ahead. I had experience, investors, and a war chest to help me build something special in the health tech space. At the time, every part of me expected I'd start a company. Simply, it was the only thing I ever wanted to do. There were no other paths. Oh, and I had one hell of an ego, which say you what you want helps with this kind of thing. Fast forward to today, I just wrote a dark, psychological, post apocalyptic novel. Yeah, it's fiction. The book is weird. The choice to write it may have been even weirder. If you don't believe my company building conviction and are another one of these, of course you did what you did, folks. Let me prove it to you. I have a Notion document where I built an entire company that doesn't exist. Because I'm a huge nerd, I had devoted years and years of compiling notes on how to run a business. It covers topics like starting the company, growth, product, leadership, and so on. I've read hundreds of business adjacent books, not to mention all the articles and podcasts too, then manually transcribe my underlines and notes into a master document, categorizing them by topic. Every post, every book, every time. Wacko, I know. Each note was a little arrow expanding into a confident vote for a future I was certain I'd be living in by now. It is without question the most disciplined writing I've ever done about a thing I never ended up doing. Buried in this document is a list of over 100 company ideas, most of which are too boring to talk about in public with the general audience, such as like a value based urgent care enabler. Anyway, but I'm still fond of a few of them. One idea was called Old Rush, a midlife healthcare company. Another was Manifest, a male focused mental health company. And one of my favorites was The Bunyan, which is the onion, but for healthcare. I never said all the ideas were good ones, did I? I also have, as it turns out, a love for naming companies I will never actually start. Here's a bunch of healthcare ones I'll sadly never get to use. Names like well, or Up Yours Health, or my favorite, Whole Care. Well, maybe it's a good thing I didn't start that company. Reviewing these documents always brings me with a twinge of regret, a what could have been feeling. These ideas are fully built, fully ready, still there, waiting, always waiting. And man, it would have been easy to do one of them. By easy, I don't mean not difficult. I mean, starting a company is like kind of hard, beyond hard, actually. What I really mean is doing more of the same. It have been the easiest decision in the world to continue doing what I'm used to doing. Then I could have kept the reputation intact, kept the identity, kept the status with a little founder CEO boost, kept the version of me that's easy to explain to other people and doesn't have to endure another what do you do conversation at a kids event filled with lawyers and doctors who eyebrows raise when I'm on paragraph 2 of, well, it's a long story. I used to be a if I'd gone down this path, then you at least wouldn't have to suffer through my whinging online, my open book midlife crisis with all its twists, false starts, and dead ends. But of course, I didn't take that road. Instead, I took a road that made no sense at all. I discarded all those playbooks, reluctantly, all the work I'd accumulated, and chose something more akin to existential angst. Freeing in some ways, totally distorting in most others. Overall, not a great career option. Sure, I set up an LLC, did some advising here and there, mostly for free. And ironically, this LLC proved to be another perfectly named business for my writing career because I called it Blank Page LLC. But after feeling like the obvious road wasn't it, I decided to go dark for about a half a year, avoiding all meetings, all outside connections, and anything looking like work. But those few months turned into a form of reawakening. Without getting all woo woo on you, I figured out my shit, or at least started to be honest with myself why I wanted the things I wanted. I'm not saying I didn't have advantages. Money is the obvious one. Less obvious is the introversion. I generally prefer avoiding human encounters or at least keeping you all at a distance. And this strange feature comes in handy when it's time to disappear from society. The other non obvious advantage, I hate boxes. Always have, even when I was normal working. I hate when anyone tries to shove me into some narrow category that may explain one fraction of me, but clearly is meant to simplify and generalize. I hate not being able to move around to try different stuff, just to fill some preconceived bullshit identity someone established long ago. The moment someone pins a label on me, operator, startup guy, executive, whatever, I feel the walls going up and the need to get the hell out. It's also why I'm not falling for my shiny new identity of author. Because if I'm not careful, all of a sudden I need to start doing the type of things that authors do, like, I don't know, taking pictures of a desk with coffee on it, staring out at a meadow. No, thank you. Of course, these type of moves are never done alone. Even I can't avoid everyone. Instead, it's helpful to have a few well placed, well timed voices of wisdom, a few that stood out in retrospect. The first was Anne Lair, who said, "Why don't you leave the country?" This is probably the question that started it all. I was going down the road of starting a company, but something didn't feel right. So Anne gives me this unexpected zinger that opened up a whole world of opportunity. No, I never left the country, but this question reframed my problem as one of proximity, and then I needed to just get away, which I did. By the way, Anne also recommended I start writing, which again was kind of solid advice. The second piece of advice was from Kay He, who said, "Why not make your sabbatical permanent?" Speaking of free consulting, Kay wins the award for the person who most changed the trajectory of my life. Plus, I've never met in person. I was in the middle of this go dark period, searching for answers, trying to meet people who'd gone through a similar big life transition. Kay's own story is one of legend. And I'll never forget our first conversation where he dropped this bomb on me. Why not make whatever weird search I was going on permanent? I thought, what do you mean? How do you make a sabbatical by definition impermanent? Permanent. Sounds like the dumbest thing. Anyways, it was such a strange question, so out there. It took me a while to digest, and I still think about it to this day. I always thought I needed to have a thing, something that defined me, that I'd settle into long term. Certainly something I could explain to my parents. But wait, did I? Why couldn't I just keep, well, exploring? The third advice was Chris, who said, "The people who don't care won't stick around." If Ian got me writing, Chris deserves the credit for getting me to share it publicly. He's got a fantastic newsletter called Moon Tower that I've long recommended. I love his one of kind rants on life. I was worried at the time whether sharing my innermost existential crisis would really be a smart strategic move. Still TBD, honestly. More importantly, I was worried about being judged by my former peers and colleagues, even and especially the ones I disliked, which is its own kind of weird psychosis we don't have time for here. This, of course, cropped up again after I started writing fiction. The recurring nightmare was, now Rick's really gone off the deep end. And you know what? They do say that. Or most of the time, think that, then quickly walk away. Trust me, I know. I know you know. And guess what? That's fine. Most people do disappear. They don't care. They don't reach out. They don't respond back. They even unsubscribe. How dare they? But the people who do care stick around. People like you. You keep wondering. You're still curious. Maybe you're even a little invested somehow in what I'm doing. You're rooting for me. Or, of course, waiting for me to implode. To you, I can't say it enough. I'm grateful. Thank you. Because I'm doubling down. This book I wrote, it's a weird one. And by weird, I mean truly epic and awesome. Filled with all the intensity and angst, plus my special dash of humor that's edgy yet sophisticated, showing an undeniable cleverness that the world will finally come to know and appreciate and love. And I'm warning you, I'm going to keep choosing that old weird road, and it's probably going to get stranger with each step. And I'm going to keep choosing to refuse to fall in love with any version that makes me stop choosing this road again and again. No, I can't tell you if this is all a good idea or if it'll all work out in the end or you should too, because who knows? I've criticized freedom before, but this may be one of its best uses. Doing stuff that's weird and illogical and requires backflips to explain to normal people. But who cares? You want to do it anyways. That easy, obvious road from before? Yeah, that's still there. Fully mapped, lights on, ready to go. It's nice, safe, and warm, and people might understand you and respect you again, Rick, in the way you've always really wanted to be respected. And you know what? Nah, I'm good. I'm going to stick with this weird thing I got going. Thanks, folks. See you next time.